with monthly webinar series. In this series, we interview successful NRBs professionals who have already shown tremendous track record of achievement. We expect to learn from their experience, from their success. Okay. Today, our theme is Silicon Valley to Wall Street. Our panelists include founders, investment analysts. Each of them has in-depth experience in both tech and finance. This is a live session. You can post your questions to the guest in YouTube. Even though our time is limited, we'll try to post and share your questions to our guest whenever possible. By the way, note that we have a very limited time. We expect to arrange a one-to-one session later with each of the guests in the future. So take today's session just like a teaser. Let me start introducing you all of our guests. I can start with you all from the bottom. From the bottom right, we have Hussain Elius. He's a co-founder of Pathao Wind and Steel startup. Obviously, we know that Pathao is one of the most successful tech companies in Bangladesh, a ride-sharing super app. He exited as a CEO of the company in 2021 and has developed a number of successful startups since then. Elias Bhai, welcome.
Thank
Then
you.
let me introduce with in Mohidul. You can see Mohidul Alam. Mohidul graduated from New York University. Right now, working as a senior investment analyst at the Antler, which is a earlier stage venture capital firm with more than $1 billion funding. Welcome, Mohidul. Bye. Okay. And now we have Abid Azam. He is we can see that the most experienced person here, graduated from UC Berkeley on molecular cell biology and currently CEO of Azam Capital. He is both an investor and founder, investing in many biotech companies and very long successful track record. Welcome, Abid Bhai. Okay,
Thank you.
now that's great. And now we're gonna start with questions. And I was talking before this session with Elias Bhai. I like your blog. I try to read that. I also a co-founder of startups, so I find it extremely valuable. In your latest blog, let me read one section line. I really like it. Kind of very much moving. You said that building a startup in Bangladesh meant fighting two battles simultaneously: the external one against competitors, regulations, and market physics; the internal one against cultural expectations. Can you talk about it? What really motivated, and what do you mean by cultural expectations, and what really motivated to get going on building this super app startup in Bangladesh?
I think first of all, thank you for inviting me over here. Really appreciate that, and excited to talk more with the business community. So in my latest article in my blog, I was talking about how hard it was to actually build a startup in Bangladesh. There hasn't been many successful startups, right? So Pathao is up there, probably the first or one of the first startups that actually worked out of Bangladesh, and it happened a lot by luck, a lot by hard work, but also as we're building this, we realize that why there aren't a lot of startups in Bangladesh, right? And yes, there are these external factors such as people will always talk to you about how hard it is to raise funds over here, right? How small the market size is, how difficult the regulators are, and I faced all of them while trying to build Pathao. But the hardest one is really the culture that we have in Bangladesh, right? In Bangladesh, generally speaking, people are not very risk taking. They don't like risks. They don't understand risks, right? And a lot of it has to do with how we're raised. When I was growing up, my parents were not that well off, right? My mom always used to teach me that hey, always save money, right? Because they did not grow up in an environment where they could actually invest or they could take risks with their money. So it was expected that hey, always you for the first thing you do out of your graduation is A, you go get a job. B, you start saving immediately. You save a little bit because you're going to get old. There is no social safety net in Bangladesh. So you have to make sure that you save enough money. And how did these people used to save? Like, even if you look back, even in our grandparents' time, we literally even did not have bank accounts, right? We literally had a physical bank where we would just store money. So that sort of culture is still like ingrained in us, right? When I was taught that, hey, what do you do after you graduate? You get a job, you start saving, right? So this is a culture that not just me, right? I think there was something wrong with me. That's why I did what I did. But everyone around me are also taught. So now, maybe let's say I got together with two of my business partners, and we built it initially, but then we start also to need other people, right? We start needing team members. Where do we get team members? Those team members won't join a startup because there was no startup,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Startups are risky. Startups fire people. Forget that corporates also fire people,
Hmm.
right? But startups are risky. So that's sort of the culture that you have to fight while building something over here. And honestly, I don't think that culture is, obviously, it's, makes people risk averse, but it's also not incorrect if you generally look at the market. Like, most startups have not succeeded. So, you cannot also judge the startup ecosystem by looking at a few success stories. Um, so, I think that people who actually do startups because of that there's something wrong with them.
Yeah, yeah. I also have a later. I'm going to ask questions. Same thing you wrote about it in your blog, right? Doing for something to show or something like that, right? In the future.
Yeah, like, who are the most successful startup founders, right? There are two or three different kinds. People who are like on a spectrum, right? People on a like autistic level, like people like Elon Musk. Um, People who are megalomaniacs. They really want to be or show people someone, show that they are someone big. People like, the Adam Newman, who's WeWork founder, or people who are like sort of on the revenge arc, right? People who want to show people that দেখো আমি পারি,
Yeah.
right? So
So, Elias, I hold on to that thought because I have several questions on that one. I want to go to the next guest, to Abid Bhai. Then I will come back, Mohid, and come back to Elias Bhai. Okay. So, Abid Bhai, you have a amazing like a scientific training, like molecular. You also experience of working in labs environment. What is the lesson from your scientific training that still shapes your how we make decision as a CEO and investor today in today's world, in biotech world in this case?
Well, I was very lucky at Berkeley. My professors started some of the big biotech companies. So I realized that to give some background, my father was a surgeon, and I was looking at like becoming a doctor. And then until I went to Berkeley, I, focused on molecular biology and immunology. And then I had a front row seat seeing my professor or his company Chiron get built. It was fairly large, but it became large, got bought out by Novartis um, not too long after I graduated. And so it was my experience. Like, I think it was also good that my father was a physician because at that time they had private practices and it was like a small business entrepreneurial in a way activity, but as a professional. But then I saw, biotech and understanding science and the impact of science on the medical field that I thought it was more interesting to work in like on a drug or drug candidate that could impact like millions of lives, rather than as a doctor, you're limited by how many patients you can see, even if it's your lifetime. And so, and s- doing the actual research and seeing it actually after I graduate, like one example is my professor's drug was like approved, so that happened within a relatively short time frame, where it usually takes 20 years to go from a lab to the market. So I would say overall that I realized that science, I mean, if you have that background and you're in the interest, you can really have an impact on the world and on patient lives.
Yeah, that's a huge experience you have. I have so many questions came to my mind, especially when you talk about like phase one, like scientific process of discovering drugs, which is so much expensive and time consuming. Let me go to quickly, Mahid. He's the one that one question I have, that you're also a startup founder, and now that you are working as from an investor mindset, right? So can you tell us some important things? We have so many early stage startup founders here, where early stage founders can focus increasing their odds of success of getting funded, or that could attract investors, right? From your investor mindset. Yeah.
Uh, thank you for having me. First is like, uh, I'm a failed startup founder. I did not do well, so I failed before I started. So it was back on 2021, and I don't consider that as founding a good startup.
I
I
think
failed.
everybody is a startup, fail a startup founder before they become successful, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, for uh, for success story, I think if you say me what gets someone funded, I, I think I'm not the right guy to answer that in front of Abid bhai and Elius bhai, who raised millions of dollars. But what I see in a small ecosystem, I'll try to give you a bit. So at least for the current scenario, at least in age of 2025, 2026, first is you need to have the clear mode of whatever you are building, because anyone can build now anything. Like anyone can build anything. And let's say, yes, 3 years back, if you would be building a SaaS product, probably a lot of investors would throw away money to you. But now things are total different. Things are like, okay, I can go and build it with that guy. Why would they invest in you? So first thing is having a clear mode, and over everything, it's founders, like how credible founders are, and how much work they have done before doing this. It's the North Star metrics is only founders, because everyone is betting on founders now. Whatever you build, if you build AI agents, if you build SaaS products, if you build fintech, everyone everyone can build anything now. But the North Star metrics is, who are we investing, and which founders are we investing, and seeing their background. So someone coming from Goldman Sachs, working in JP Morgan for 3 to 5 years, doing a fintech product in Middle East, doing global equities, building a wealth tech management app, can easily get funded. On the other hand, maybe someone coming out of college, doing their own thing, uh, building an app with Lovable and bringing, okay, can you please put us funding? It's hard, because if you see the spectrum of 2020, if you see the vintage from 2020 and 2025, things have changed a lot. And i think
So you said the
i think
major share of the weights goes to the
everything is
founder.
founders
Founder.
founders
Okay. Yeah. So I have a quick questions to Elias Bhai in this case about about this the fundings case. Yeah, how much struggle did you face in getting your first funding? Can you share any moments where you almost kind of giving up stage? Right now, many entrepreneurs may be going through similar phase. Do you have any encouraging stories or words to share with us in this case?
Oh, we no, like we died like 8 times in 3 years, right? I think it's a common struggle. And if you are building any startup, no matter how successful you are, you'll always have funding issues, especially if you're like hyper growth. Um, so I don't think it's uncommon. Uh, what I did learn from all of this, though, is uh, the odds of your success start to improve or get better the longer you're actually in the market, right? So what that means is, you know, step one is not to die,
Mhm.
right? Step one is never run out of money, right? Do whatever it takes to survive, and there will be chances that it'll work out.
What are
Um,
the chances? Okay.
so,
Yeah, yeah.
so, and again, like, what does it mean? It's very easy to say that, hey, you don't run out of money, but it's not really that easy. It means that, let's say you are running out of money, you have 3 months of runway. The question now is, how do you turn that into a 6 months of runway, right?
Right.
Does that, it may mean that you will have to fire half of your team, but it's fine, right? Because if in 6 months you would have more time to figure out what you can do, and then you can figure out, hey, what does the next 6 months look like, right? But if you run out of money in 3 months, you might not have the choice. So it's all about building optionality. It's all about how, and your optionality increases the longer you are actually in the market. If you just drop out, if you give up,
So you say the optionality increase with the more time they stay,
yeah.
the optionality the more opportunities going to come. That's very important. But we have, if you want to take this question, we have one question for live session. What do you think about if you take 1 or 2 minutes for this question, what do you think of the Nama Jatri model for Bangladeshi
I don't know what that actually means.
Okay, so this is something. Okay, we're gonna get back to more questions later, and yeah, let me Abid bhai. I have quick questions. You have this so many experience across 30 years, more than 30 years in biotech healthcare. What are the some of the signals that you see consistently that separate the winners from the companies that looks promising but they are not, they end up being failed, right? What are the characteristics they've seen from the company perspective?
Are you specific to biotech or healthcare? What are you referring to?
First biotech healthcare, or if you have something more in the broader space like a overall successful startup ecosystem, that will be also great. Yeah.
Well, I think it's like teams, like in general,
Mhm.
and then in biotech, you have to have like there's clinical regulatory. So I mean, it's more like a larger team, and I think it's like there's like in biotech, it's more tricky. Is like you pure academics have trouble if they don't get the business side of the equation right in biotech. And it's biotech is very interesting because you can argue that public companies are still startups until they have a product that is approved and marketed in the market. And another thing about the biotechs that are funded like startup or private, they have to partner. Typically, usually have to partner to do clinical trials, to have funding to go through the phase 1 through 3 of I mean, they can do phase 1, but as when you go later stage towards approval, they have to usually they get a larger pharmaceutical company as a partner to help them go further along and also build out more of their science data for the clinical trials and FDA approval, and then later on sales and marketing. So you have to have a team that can do that. And if it may be hard for like a startup that does not have that all that background. And there's actually specialized biotech venture capital firms that offer like this whole team to support, and that's where biotech is kind of different than others. And it take 10 years, I mean, 10, 20 years for lab to approval, as I mentioned earlier.
So it's much harder, actually, much harder to like become successful than any other like other industries, actually, in this case. Yeah.
Well, it was like when I was in Berkeley, it was very interesting because I was there during the internet bubble. And so I was the biotech guy, and all my friends would join all these fast growing tech companies where it was networking or software. And so they can do something in 3 to 5 years,
Wow.
where it would take a biotech cycle maybe 20 years back then. The only thing that's slightly different now that you have digital health and that there's applying IT or AI to healthcare, that is, it's because like that's digital health, and that's different than working on a drug target typically. So you have like companies that are speeding up drug discovery process or helping with the clinical trials. So that's like a niche, and there's like two types of biotech or in this field. One is called wet, where it's the therapeutic or you actually work in the lab, and there's dry, which is more computational. So and actually now I think it's the combination of wet and dry that is very interesting in the market.
Right. We have. I'll get back to Big Bhai more on this one. I have a quick question to Mohidul that you say I'm also especially this question. You talk about the founders. So many about the founders. So when investors think about funding them, so I'm also co-founder, and my experience is that sometimes we think about also overdo or overthink. We apply for funding and we get obsessed about our term sheet, PowerPoint slides, financial projections, and everything. But you say, then if you say that the investor really think about the founders, their backgrounds, their quality, their convictions, their commitment, then how do you think that in their presentations, in their slides, in their talking with the investors, right? What are the things, critical factors they can do rather than obsessed? Probably they also have to be obsessed about the term sheet that also increase their odds of success with the founders stage.
I think if we're talking about Bangladesh or emerging market, no one is obsessed about term sheets. If people get a term sheet,
From the
that's
USA, North America, Canada. Yeah.
like in emerging markets, if people get a term sheet, that's enough. That's a winning pitch. Okay. So if you talk about the like pitch deck and deck itself, I think there are a few things, at least at this age, there are a few things to keep in mind. How big is the market size? Because when you say Bangladesh has 150 million people and this is the internet penetration rate and this is the number is very great. The number looks very nice. But let me share a Pathao story with you. So I was in Chittagong sitting like in Peninsula. I'll go to Rangamati. I booked for a Pathao ride. I've given 2,500. All of them accepted the ride. All of them are saying, okay, 2,500. And then they called, hey, I'll go to Rangamati if you give us 4,000. I said, like, bro, why did you accept 2,500 and calling me back with 4,000? Then they said, all of us are agreed with this. If you call another guy, same guy, the other guy will also say 4,000. That means it's syndicated in a region.
Yeah.
Like in GSC, everyone is syndicated. So if you say and come up and say everything is like the market size is huge, and if you show vague numbers, it doesn't make any sense, because actual Pathao market size is probably Dhaka and Chittagong, some part of Chittagong, not even like if you go to big cities of Bangladesh, it doesn't work out. So market sizing is very important. How are you calculating market size and how are you showing market size? A. And B is how are you actually differentiating your technology? Like most decks, you cannot understand what people are saying. Decks is just whatever. Even if you don't make a deck, if you can explain me with a video, it's fine. Just explain me what you are building. Most decks are like revolutionizing Uber for this, Pathao for that, like Duolingo for this, Welltech for that, JP Morgan for this. Most decks are like that. if you can just explain me what does the business do in simple 3 slides is enough. What does the business do? Who is the team? How big is the market size? And how are you going to acquire that market size?
So we don't
Khalas.
need crazy 20, 25 slides.
No, like
Okay.
these are gurus selling their slide decks. There are a lot, thousands of them in Bangladesh or wherever you go.
Mhm.
They will tell you, okay, if you do this slide, you give me 3% success fee, 4% success fee. And these are accelerators. By the way, I also work for an accelerators. These are things built by accelerators so that they can sell their learning models to you as a founder and take lower
Yeah.
valuation.
I know one question, Mohidul. I got like another audience question. I find it very relevant to our discussion. Like the question is that given AI is removing any technology barrier, right? What are the things you look into while you evaluate your startup ideas? Like just one that from an investor perspective, like yeah.
Like
So
a
let's say right now there is no barrier, right? With AI and everything, technology barrier. So now the investors, now they know that this is no more constraint. Then what are the things they're going to look? Again, it's I think it's your answer will be the founder, right?
no. I disagree there is any technology barrier. Like
Yeah,
AI was supposed to go and solve cancer issues. Now AI is solving how to make better images, how to make better videos. So
mm,
AI is not solving what it was supposed to solve in 5 years. Even like Elon Musk is trying to make videos and flexing with that we make better videos.
yeah,
So
yeah,
there
yeah.
is huge what we see OpenAI today is not what it was supposed to be in last 5 years. So there, if you are a deep tech guy, if you're a like SaaS guy, you will go ahead and build, you will find that niche mode thing. And second thing is if you're fintech, e-commerce, something, you need an extraordinary license in different markets. So your licensing, how are you getting in those licensing? If you're doing Web3 and all, your licensing matters a lot, and that gives investors different perceptions and convictions.
Yeah. So you see the regulations, constraints, those kind of things, niche market, those are the things matter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
niche
yeah,
but big market.
yeah, yeah. It's very important. So that's great. Come back to you again on that case. Then I'm get back to Elias. Elias, I also want to little bit get back to the psychology of founders because I want to also read another line from your blog post. I really like that. Let me read it. Build because you love the problem, not because you hate feeling small. Build because you see a future worth creating, not because you want to escape a past that hurt you. Build because you want to serve people, not because you want people to notice you. So I feel like you were talking about something mostly people are a lot of people are most driven by their trauma and experience or feelings of insecurity drive them to go for the startup and finally find them in terms of a very like confusing or like disappointment state. Can you talk a little bit about more on these things? What do you mean by build what you love and build not something those?
I'm really talking sort of about my journey, right? Which is, I started building at first because, um, because I actually wanted to show people that I'm capable, right? That's really what it is, right? When I started to build Pathao, it wasn't to say that, hey, I actually wanted to solve ride sharing. I just wanted to create something because I wanted other people's validation, right? And did that, but it also takes you to a very dark place because you always won't have people's validation, right? And that's when you're like, oh shit, I'm doing something, I'm not getting the validation that I wanted. Why am I even doing what I'm doing, right? When I left Pathao, I started another business almost immediately, and it was because I wanted to show to myself that, hey, the first time wasn't luck, right? Because I hated the fact that I was 25 years old when I started Pathao, and even back then, a lot of people were like, "Oh, Elias got lucky," you know. And I wanted to show to myself and to others that, hey, it wasn't luck. I built it because I'm capable. So this is what I meant earlier when I said that, you know, people who build startups and actually take them to be successful have some trauma that they are responding to, right? Like normal people don't build startup. Like normal people go and there are much easier ways to make money, right? Much more easier, less
And more
stressful,
money, probably sometimes. Yeah.
and probably more money,
Yeah.
right? So, but what I've also found out that it takes you to a dark place because you are doing this for years. You're building a startup or whatever this project is. Soon, if you're successful, you'll be doing it for 5, 10 years. You'll have a lot of people depending on you, not just investors, but also customers and your employees. And if you have a mindset that যে আমি দেখাই দেওয়ার জন্য করতেছি, হ্যাঁ, that takes you down a very dark path um, where when you are not able to solve the problem, right? You just think that you're the failure, right? You don't think of the problem. You're not thinking about solving the problem. You're thinking about solving yourself.
Wow. Yeah. That's another line to go. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, again, like if you want to do a startup, like you have to fall in love with the problem, right? What is the problem? It could be anything, right? It could be transportation, it could be finance, it could be something that is worth solving, and only then it will have you'll have a long-term vision. The long-term vision doesn't have to be with you, but the company has to, it's like raising a child. When you first have a child, you're looking at the child and you're like, oh, this is just like me, right? You want to imbue your personality onto that child. But after a while, you learn that, your child has different personalities, and it becomes his own person, right? The same thing with company, right? For the first couple of years, like a Pathao was a reflection of me, like because I built it, right? But as time went by, as it became bigger and bigger, as there were thousands of other people joined in, like, oh, this is no longer me. This is something else, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's very hard. That's very hard to realize.
Very hard, and it's a long journey. It's a long journey,
It's
and
it's a long journey that will take you to places that you don't know. It's like having a child.
true. So, Mohidul, I have anything to say. Okay, by the way, it's a very nice question, our Saab Bhai, to Abid Bhai. Abid, but when it comes to AI today, do you think the promise of solving cancer is something that we can hope for, or is stuck at generating, or we're gonna start generating pictures and thumbnails and everything?
I think it's a complex question. When I first got into biotech, I thought there was a drug that would solve all cancers. But then, as a cancer researcher or someone that understands cancer, there's not one cancer. There's like a limited number of cancers. So I don't think AI is going to solve cancer per se, but it actually, AI gives you the power to do more than you could have done before. So, and also combine, like I can combine genomics, I can combine like health records, I can combine medical imaging, and combine like different types of drug therapeutics that are being used for different cancers or certain cancers, and then develop a protocol or more precise way of suggesting a type of therapeutic therapy. So I don't think it's not like AI is going to quickly give you one answer, but it allows you to analyze several data sets in different areas that affect the patient and the outcome. For example, your background, like if you're South Asian, might have some effect. And so you can capture that faster with AI than a doctor just seen a patient. And
So
this
basically,
is
the process will be faster. The process
it
intermediate,
will also goes through more data.
yeah, more data.
Like now they're not now it's not there's not too much data that's being analyzed. And with medical records and more diagnostic testing, that you can combine these different nodes and then get a more precise, a more add precision to the therapeutic protocol and outcome.
Okay. Okay, that's great. Abid bhai, we'll come back to some of the related questions. I have a quick question to Mohidul. Like, let us think about. We have a lot of participants right now here. They're in a very very earliest stage, right? Who have like MVP, but doesn't even think about did not even apply for funding yet. What should be your advice to the how do they can start? What do they can start from? Looking out for investors, and how do they even figure out which investor should be appropriate for them that they can approach, right? Those things.
Okay, let's do marketing then. Apply to antler.co at the rate dash apply. It's so apply to Antler, you will get all of this. Okay.
Okay. Well,
I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I'm
yeah.
just joking. So I think having a clarity on what you are trying to build. I think what Elias bhai was saying, most of them are people who are doing startups are mostly emotionally driven to it. So one of the best example for it is Pirat. I think he's GP of Hummingbird VC. Hummingbird is world's best VC who delivers 10x MOIC to their investors always. And they have one code. They come in pre-seed, they invest on dyslexia, founders who have dyslexia, nothing else. And they
Oh,
have
wow.
done this multiple times. They did it with Epic Games, they did it with Aspire, they did with probably Lovable Guys also does also have a dyslexia. And 60% of their team members are dyslexic. All of them, like all of the Hummingbirds people are dyslexic. So Firat has given 10x MYC to all their LPs.
So did they explain why they or do you even explain why they go for dyslexic especially?
Their thought process is folks who has dyslexia or who has some mental trauma or who are folks who are very good at gaming. They are very attached to what they do at a long time. So let's say if you're building something, you are attached to that thing. Let's say if you're playing good games, you're very good at gaming. Until and unless you finish that level, you go crazy. Once you finish that level, you feel okay. You feel okay. I can go to next level. So startup is like that. You have to be in that with some grit, and you have to cross each level. And you will always have survival mode. You will always have bad time, good time. All it's just good video games. So they pick and choose founders who play good video games. Same 20 VC does that. 20 VCs, they have that same formula. So first thing is you figure out a good problem, very good problem, which you are married to, and then try to solve it at a longer scale and find a bigger market. Once you find a bigger market, a good problem that you want to solve, that's not like you need to solve for money. No, that you want to solve, and it's a big market. Go and try to solve it in different ways. It doesn't have to be with app or something. It may be with Legos. Like with Legos, you can solve a problem. Go and build that Lego model and then sell it to customers. You don't have to always build an AI product and everything. And it's not, I think hype driven thing shouldn't exist, because 5 years down the lane, maybe quantum computing will be the next thing and you are dead. You're out of market. And 3 years back, it was metaverse. People jumped into metaverse and they're out of market. So it's always finding a right problem with bigger market and trying to solve it with heart and soul. It's like playing the right game.
Yeah, I really like that you say that not for the money, a problem that you want to solve, right? You want to solve. I really like that. Amazing. We have this. Let me get back to some one questions to Elias Bhai. That Pathao, as remember, have three co-founders, right? You all successfully work together. When you think about a startup, like when you think about a startup, normally people think, or we think, oh, it is all about the coding, tech, building next gen products, right? But also it demands a lot of human interactions. Sometimes you have to argue with your co-founders, investors, friends, families, people. From your experience, can you give us some insights or something you share how co-founders you can, so that a co-founder can understand how they can deal with daily stress of interacting with people, and run the company to successful stage, because this thing is kind of eventual, right? Those human interaction and a lot of confusion and stress coming up from those cases daily to daily.
I mean, with internal or external?
Internally inside the company, yeah. External is also, yeah, if you have anything to share.
Look, you just have to talk every day, right? It's, I mean, as boring as the answer is, communication, right? And what that means is, um, okay, let's take a step back, right? Like you have two or three different founders, right? Why do you need two or three? Because not everyone is good at everything, right? Usually you need at least two. That's what I say, right? You need someone who's a builder and another who's a seller. But then there are also more, right? Maybe there are multiple sellers. Maybe there is someone who's really good at fundraising and someone who's great at operating and someone who's great at technology. It could be more, but usually there's two people. Um, I will say that again, like, and also humans are flawed, right? So the first time for my first couple of startups, I was not the best communicator. I still don't think I'm the best communicator. But what happens is maybe you have a particular vision, and you need to make sure that you're always selling. One of the jobs of a founder is that you have to sell your vision, and you're selling your vision not just to your investors, not just to your employees, but sometimes to yourself, right, and to your partners as well. That, hey, let's do this together. You want that other person's buy-in as well, right? You don't know that, you may be committed to your idea 100%. You may think that your partner is also committed to the idea 100%, but that may also not be true, right? You're maybe projecting your beliefs onto them. So you just have to make sure that you're always communicating that, hey, this is what we want together out of this. This is your benefit. This is my benefit. And you always need to be in the same page. And the only way to be in the same page is to just talk every day about everything, right? Not just about the business, but hey, how are you doing in your personal life as well? Because humans are complex objects. They're just because you're spending 8 or 12 hours a day running a business doesn't mean that other 8 or 12 hours is anything useless, right? Maybe that person is having a issue with their parents or with their spouse, and that also affects their business, right? Maybe that other person has an issue with their health, that also affects their business. You want everyone, and ideally you want everyone to operate at the same level, right? Which means setting high standards. Like for the startup that I'm working on now, we got everyone like a Whoop device over here, right? And we track everyone's health all the time. Like, are you healthy? Right? Are you going to the gym all the time? Are you going to sleep properly? Right? It's kind of invasive, but also that's how you really need to operate. You need to be in the same page. Um, and you need to talk about things that are uncomfortable. That, hey, let's say there is a loss because of one of the partner's fault, right? But you have to be able to say that, hey, I did this, it's my fault, I'll make up for it, right? But if your other partners are like, no, this is your fault, you should pay for it, the next time if there is a problem, you might not want to talk to them about, right? And sometimes
We might hide Literally, yeah.
you will start hiding things, right? That's also not good. You're now hiding things from your partners, right? That also brings a trust issue. So, you know, I think, as the older I get, the more I realize how important communication is and how important it is to sometimes have those hard discussions like early on and be sort of in the same page, be honest, because once you break trust, you can't really get it back. And it's just not for your spouse, it happens with everyone, it also with your business partners, right? You have to be always over communicate, right? You have to talk with your partners like every day for hours. And those relationships are a lot more important sometimes than even your spouse. You see your business partner more than you see your wife,
Mhm.
right? So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. Yeah, thank you. That's right. It's a very a lot of insights here actually here. Okay, I have a quick question to Mohidul. One that actually is a bit tricky questions. I would say. I will say that since you have this experience of dealing with like applications or going through pitch tech and everything, what are some of the biggest sources of misunderstanding or communication gap that happens between founders and potential investors? Like you as a investor, like you're from their mindset kind of getting frustrated, why don't they understand it, why I'm not making them to understand it, these kind of things, what that create a lot of misunderstanding, and then the whole thing falls out, whole thing become fail, no more investment, even though they're successful, there's some communication gap in this case. Yeah.
Okay, I think this happens to emerging markets a lot. So let's say Egyptian pound has gone down for 2 years. Your your company will have a bad turn down in terms of dollars, 100%. Let's say when people invested on Pathao, let's say $1 was 80 taka, and now $1 is 122 taka. It's 40 taka, 50%. Like if someone invested on Pathao at 80 taka, now 120 taka, it's around 50%. So the best, all investors wants update from you. Once they put in money, they have nothing to do actually. Let's say they
Mhm.
want to sell their shares. Founders don't want to do that. They'll not just like they won't just help in due diligence, nothing else. You cannot do anything to founders. If founders don't want to do anything, they'll not. In secondaries, founders don't want to share their data room to the next investor. Deal done. You cannot invest and you cannot sell your shares. It's everything with founders. It's better to just say and keep updated. Let's say weekly update, monthly update. In Venture Soup, we used to have bi-weekly update with all the founders. In Antler, it's same. We have weekly or monthly updates. It's always better to be with the investors, just a short, like 5 or 7 minutes or 10 minutes call. They
Mhm.
see a lot of deals happening around. Maybe one day, let's say today, Pathao is founder is having a call with GP of VentureSook or with the team of VentureSook. Somehow there is a deal coming out. Buy Kia from Pakistan is coming out. Yesterday we met Buy Kia. Let's say we can go and say, hey, can you please take a look at Buy Kia? Why don't you guys merge together? Why don't you do these that? And we have successful stories coming out of like good calls only. And I can name one of them, Silk and Sari. It was random founders call and everything happened so strategically. The next big one is coming. I don't want to say now, but all of these are happening just because you could go and talk to investors at right time. Like Elias has to do nothing, like 80 taka to 120 taka. That deflation, Elias has nothing to do here. He just can go and relegate. He cannot change the outcome and he cannot change his ARR. He just need to come up and say, hey, our money has gone down. We have a macro problem in Bangladesh. We have Dr. Yunus moving out. We have Tariq Zia coming. We have that person coming. We have Jamaat Islam coming. Our macro is not on right page. So We will
So
have some.
basically, you say that I get it. Basically, because a lot of founders they actually work like 12 hours, 16 hours. They can think, of, why do you have to communicate? Why do you have to say we are
Welcome to
working
this
hard?
brief demonstration of Bitna.
We are working hard so much. Then why do you have to just give those calls? Make them understand, right? Yeah.
No, it's just good investors will always give you sanity. Bad investors will always give you pressure, nothing else. Good investors will always try to help because they don't have anything. Once they put
Right.
their money, they don't have anything.
Right. So, okay. Quick questions to again with to Mohidul. If you take just 1 minute, we have one question from our Bitna member. As early a startup, does it make sense to have evaluated or valued by third party? No, to raise fund. Okay, got it. Okay. So probably we're gonna go more on this later when you do the one-to-one session. Abid bhai, you're right now in India. I know that you are an international traveling countries from countries different. Yeah. So you are kind of a true Silicon Valley to Wall Street to Asia kind of a guy, right? Why do you see the opportunities right now in Asia, USA? What kind of opportunities you see for founders or for professionals also, right?
There's several ways to answer that question. So I went to Berkeley and, lived through Silicon Valley for some time. So things are definitely changing. Silicon Valley is still a great place for startups, talent. One thing that has changed is the investment or money. The money is more of it's coming from the Middle East than before. So when I was, in Silicon Valley from the internet, beginning of the internet time, like 95 to 2000, all the money was from US universities. They were the standard LPs. Now it's shifting to Middle East. VCs now fly to the big US VCs fly to the Middle East to raise money. So I think that's one thing. The other thing is Asia has been growing, has become more interesting. And I'm looking at it from a total different aspect is you always have to look where you have edge or where the edge is. And I was thinking about AI and healthcare. One of the things that's very interesting is I advise Qatar in healthcare is that it's a nationalized healthcare. You have access to the data set. And in the US, that's very hard to do. And I would say that about Asia in general, is that you may have better access to data sources or data sets that you can use to train AI models or medical imaging, stuff like this. I'm noticing, and that's partially why I'm looking at Asia or partnering with Asia or the Middle East. And then that's another, if you look at healthcare, for example, imagine that I have access to data set of health records in Bangladesh, a large, amount. I could solve some of the health, I create models and stuff that could potentially be used in the US. So I think that if you look at the way things are, that the rest of the world is also an opportunity. The other thing is if you're looking at it from a financial standpoint, the U.S. I think is going under changes. Like the dollar is not as strong. It's not necessarily the rupee or Bangladesh taka, but it's still underperforming when it comes to gold, or you can argue Bitcoin. But so that's turning into opportunity, and I don't think it's an accident that the U.S. has this Genius Act and stablecoin is becoming a way to transact. It's supporting the dollar, and it's becoming like a currency that can be transacted. And this is what I would say a message to Bangladesh is that stablecoin is here, crypto is here, and that Bangladesh is going to miss out on opportunities if they don't adopt or meet the standards. Like India, it's working. Pakistan, it's working. So India, through its ignorance, is going to be left behind if they don't adopt or change with the time. And
Very
they can just look at the Taka to see what's going on. Like
right.
they're responsible for supporting that, and if they can't do that, they need to be more open-minded.
Very very bold message from Abid Bhai for the last one. And same questions. Probably we have three, 4 more minutes, and a broader question to Elias Bhai also. What do you see the opportunities in terms of the space, locations, or ideas right now?
In Bangladesh or in general?
In general. As well.
Honestly, I think the world is kind of in a very weird spot right now. Right, I have no advice or any opportunities to give. Right, it's just strange. Right, so yes, you have AI right now. There is a boom, but everyone agrees that it's a bubble. So I don't know if it's the right time to build in AI. Number two, I don't also know if it's the right time to build using AI, because AI is actually not that great at coding. Even though some people, you can make a very quick and dirty SaaS, but it's not going to be scalable, right? Like for my newest company, we have Fortune 500 companies as customers. Yes, we use some AI to help us code, but we're not using AI to build something that is we're going to be Fortune 500 ready without any human intervention. It's not there. Um, so I crypto is also sort of waning, right? Stable coins have gotten some product market fit, but crypto itself, right now there is a lot of turmoil in the world. Everyone would have thought that people would flock to Bitcoin, but people are actually flocking to gold and silver. So is Bitcoin even a store of asset? Probably not, right? So it's a very weird spot. But all I can say for sure, though, is that Bangladesh is not really a good place to build for, right? As unfortunate as that may sound, it's probably a good place to build from, right? You can have a team over there. Like I have a 40 people team in Bangladesh right now, which are building, right? And we are serving like Fortune 500 companies, right? But I haven't seen any startup or any successful venture come out of Bangladesh in the last 5 years, right? I don't see that coming out in the next 5 years either. So, yeah, I honestly discourage people to build in Bangladesh, build for Bangladesh at least.
Yeah. Probably we have to do a lot of things from regulatory, political, and all those things. Right? Yes.
No, it's not just regulations. Ultimately, it's what Mohit said. It's the market's too small, right? You have 150 million people. You have 20 million people in Dhaka alone, but how many people are the people who will actually buy your stuff, right? Most people are invisible people. They are your rickshaw pullers. They are your people who are your tonget dokandar, your guards. They are not buying even ride sharing products, right? Which are like 100 taka. That's cheapish. They are not going to buy your fashion delivery product. I'm sorry, right? Like New York has 20 million people, Dhaka has 20 million people. That's the difference, right?
Right. So yeah, we are in a state right now. Okay, I think we got a lot of ideas, insights that our members will be really benefited if you in a very near time we can have some one-to-one session, get into the deep of those insights here. We have a at this very last minute we have one thing also. Like I believe our another director of Bitna, Sarab Bhai is going to announce something very important coming up for our future. We have a portal that we are going to announce this case. In the meantime, waiting for the Sarabhai, Mohidul, I'm gonna. You are already in the Middle East. If you take 1 minute, that about the opportunities. Abid Bhai also talking about that. Things are moving into Middle East or other areas, right? Just give 1 minute from being over there. What do you think? Talk about.
I think I think money is here. It's not fake money. It's not like stock money. It's real money. They go and do tourism. They go and do real estate and have cash. And probably OpenAI is also coming here for a $40 billion next raise from one of the SWF. So if you say me where are the opportunities coming in, if you come into UAE, just build prop tech, fintech, or something around that. I don't know. It's playing well. AI is for SF, climate is probably for Europe, D2C is for Singapore or SEA. But one note, please don't go to Singapore to raise a $60K check with $5,000 of your flight tickets. Don't like.
Oh, I was thinking about going to Singapore. No, I'm kidding. I'm
No,
kidding.
no, like Singapore is dead. That Asian tiger is dead, and people thought there will be unicorns from there. Nothing happened. All of the funds are struggling in that region. So don't go to Singapore to raise your next capital. Go to Middle East. If not, then go to India, but don't go to Singapore if you can. Yeah,
That's good.
like
That's good. Okay, we have to talk about it more. Thank you all of our guest panelists, and now I move to Sarabhai on a very very important announcement. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Ibrahim Bhai. I mean, it's basically it's we all of the Bitna team together. I'm just announcing on behalf of all our team. We have been working really hard throughout the last few months, and we have launched as of today our own portal that I would like to give a small brief video introduction to, and that'll give you some idea what that is.
This is the landing page. In the top right corner, there is a... Hello and welcome to this brief demonstration of Bitna. This is the landing page. In the top right corner, there is a green button labeled Member Portal, which we will use to sign in. Please copy your LinkedIn profile link, paste it into the provided field, and submit the form. After submission, your request will be pending approval. Upon approval, you'll be redirected to the homepage with your profile set up. As demonstrated, your LinkedIn profile picture is displayed in this section. The Events tab provides access to the latest events, including webinars and polls. Here you can view the results of a poll that has already ended. You can view detailed information about webinars and join them directly, and polls, webinars, and other events can be explored category-wise using the filter tabs. Next to the Events tab is the Community tab, where you can find all Bitna members and filter them by industry. The My Connections tab shows members you are connected with, along with pending and sent requests. The Groups tab allows you to view all available groups, request to join them, and track their status as pending or joined. For example, the New York chapter group has already been joined. Joined groups are also visible on the dashboard in the bottom left corner and can be accessed from there. You can react to posts, save them for later, view group members on the right side, post within a group, or post globally to reach members outside the group. From the member directory, you can send connection requests, view notifications from the notification bar, and chat with connected members. In My Profile, you can edit your bio, company, job title, industry, and add relevant links such as YouTube or Instagram, then save your changes. The My Posts section displays all your posts. The Bookmarks section contains saved posts, and finally, you can sign out using the Sign Out button. Thank you for watching.
So yeah, I mean, that was a quick glimpse of what you can do on the portal. We'd like to encourage all the Bitna members to start signing up today, and it's a free connection that you can establish, and this way we can have exclusive access to jobs and connectivity within our core members and within the community as well, and we plan to bring in several mentors within the platform as well, and we'll take the feedback from you guys, and as a result, we'll improve the platform over time. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you all.